Hi, everybody. My name is Deborah Padilla, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about exploring the intersection of technology, nature, and mental health, specifically tracking trauma with the outdoors. I want to thank Avenza Maps for having me speak to you guys today. And before we get started, I'm just going to go into a little bit about who I am. So, again, my name is Deborah. By trade, I am a mental health therapist. I'm also getting my Ph.D. in social work. I'm an author and founder of Pats with Healing, and Pats with Healing is a nonprofit where we offer support group hikes for those who have trauma or PTSD. I'm also the founder of Hiking is My Therapy podcast, where I talk to hikers or different organizations about how hiking simply helps them heal on the trail with different mental health challenges that they're experiencing. So I want to let you guys know that I put my contact information on this slide right now. So feel free to reach out to me in any of these ways. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have, or if you just want to say hello, happy to do that too. So before we get started, just to kind of give you guys an overview of what we will be talking about today is, technology and advantages on the trail. I know many of us understand the importance of technology and how it may help on the trail. So I'm just going to give a very brief overview of this, and then we're going to follow into Avenza Maps and prevalent, but also my favorite features. And then I'm going to go into very briefly, once again, just what mental health is and how nature can help mental health. And then at the end, I'm going to, combine mental health with technology and basically talk about how Avenza can help with mental health on the trail. So to start off by explaining the importance of technology, what are the benefits and advantages? And I know you guys know this already, but again, to give a brief overview, we know it improves our learning. We know it improves our access to information, collaboration with other people. It improves our productivity, and it also improves, different means of communication. And I know for me, for example, if I'm on the trail and I need to send a text message to somebody because I'm going to be late, coming back for dinner. And then I'm going to do that, and maybe I have a friend on the trail that, is ahead of me, or maybe they went to go look for something on the trail and I stayed back and they need to call me or they need to send me their coordinates. There's all different types of benefits and advantages that I'm sure you guys experience on a day-to-day basis on or off the trail. So how does Avenza Maps come into play? So Avenza Maps, as we know, has different prevalent features such as tracking our adventures, marking different places of interest, determining and sharing our coordinates, measuring distance between points. Everything that helps us improve that means of communication allows us to collaborate. And, simply if, we have to, I don't know, for example, share our coordinates ahead of time, right? We can do that so we can allow a loved one to know exactly where we are in case of an emergency. So, what is mental health? Well, I know many of you guys, again, know what mental health is, but mental health makes up of different biopsychosocial, psychological, and environmental factors. And the key causes of this can be from family circumstances, substance abuse and addiction, physical health or ailments, self-esteem challenges, economic situations, or even interpersonal relationships. And I'm sure many of you guys, including myself, have experienced some of these key causes, and it has affected our mental health. And sometimes it's really hard to, take the reins and improve our mental health because it has such a big impact on us on a day-to-day. So with that being said, we can get on the wrong path because of, these severe impacts it has on us. So what are these key impacts? Well, for example, maybe a relationship had really, traumatic effects on us. So it brings out different trauma symptoms, such as depression or anxiety or substance abuse and addiction, emotional and mood dysregulation or poor concentration. And our environment can cause this, our psychological or pregenetic factors can cause this. There are so many different impacts that trauma symptoms can simply bring out in us. Early bird gets the worm. So, what happens if we have these struggles and we have a severe impact? The earlier, the better. Early intervention, there's all different types of early intervention treatments, such as traditional therapy, nature therapy, but the earlier the better. And what this does is it allows us to maybe have less intense treatment plans, prevention of symptoms intensifying, promoting that autonomy, dignity, and worth, encouraging empowerment in our own choices. And especially in trauma symptoms, it's really, really, really important that the sooner the better that we take care of these mental health challenges. And nature has its benefits too when it comes to this. It helps us prevent symptoms from intensifying. It reduces those anxiety. Maybe we have ruminations and we just think and think and think and think. And maybe we replay that traumatic memory in our heads. So it can help with that. It reduces depression and improves our cognitive functioning. So again, early bird gets the worm. And the sooner we do this, the better. So, how does technology and mental health come into play? Well, let's take Avenza Maps. For example, my favorite features are tracking adventures and determining and sharing coordinates. So, how does this equate to mental health? Well, take somebody who has PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, right? We can track our thoughts, just like we track our thoughts in traditional therapy in order to try and reframe our thinking. That's how we can track our adventures in the app and vice versa. Or maybe we want to determine and share our coordinates. Well, how does this equate to somebody who is depressed and maybe experiencing suicidal ideation? Well, maybe we have to create a safety plan and we need to share those coordinates so we can, tell our loved ones where we're at all times in case of an emergency or in case we need that extra help. So it's really important to take into consideration. And I'm going to go a little bit more into depth with this so you guys have a better understanding. So, tracking trails, we can track our thoughts. So, up here, I put some screenshots of my hiking adventures. And, you know, I think it's really important to understand that sometimes when, we're out on the trail, we track our hikes, or maybe we track hikes, before we get on the trail so we have an understanding of how long a hike is going to be for us. And I think it's really important to equate this to tracking our thoughts because sometimes we're on a certain trail and we don't realize how long that trail is. And then we get on the trail and we're really stressed out and maybe we're ruminating because we feel like we're never going to, finish this hike and it's giving us all this anxiety now. And now we're thinking the worst and now we're spiraling, right? And it's kind of a similar concept when it comes to PTSD. So maybe we're reliving that traumatic memory. Maybe we're, having trouble reframing our thinking and we start spiraling, we start ruminating, we start thinking the worst. And it's really hard to come out of that. So what can we do on and off the trail to improve this? Well, we can take a look at the situation, write down the situation, observe your situation. What are your thoughts? What's going on in your head? If you're on the trail and you know, are at a water crossing that's really hard to get by, what thoughts are going through your head? Are you feeling anxious? What thoughts are going through your head when you're experiencing, unfortunately, a traumatic memory, right? What emotions are going on through your head on and off the trail? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is it despair? Is it shame? What is going on in that moment for you? What behaviors are you experiencing? Are you getting irritable? Are you getting restless? Are you getting angry? What's going on for you? And finally, alternate thoughts. How can we reframe our thinking? How can we reshape our thinking? So if you're on the trail, what can you do in that moment by observing all these different things that are part of the situation, and how can we make the rest of the journey better? And the same goes for somebody who's experiencing traumatic thoughts, right? Even when you're off the trail, taking a look at your situation and observing those thoughts, those emotions, those behaviors, and how can we reframe our thinking so we can move on with our day in a better way. The other feature is evaluating location and evaluating our safety. So when I'm on the trail, for example, right, I want to know where I am, which I'm sure all of us do, right? So grabbing those coordinates to understand where I am, especially in case of an emergency, is really crucial in order to have a really positive experience with hiking, right? And the same applies off trail. Sometimes we're struggling, we're depressed, maybe we have suicidal ideations, maybe we're having a really bad traumatic memory and we're just going down that rabbit hole, and we need to implement a safety plan with meaningful relationships that we have in our lives, whether it's a parent, a partner, a friend, or a professional, and we need to understand what's going on in that moment, especially. So I put an example of a safety plan up on this slide for you guys. So what are some warning signs that you feel like, all right, this might go a little south, right? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling like I'm being followed, right? Is it just my fear, or is you know something going on around me? Paying attention is really, really important. And how can you cope with it? So if I'm on the trail and I'm feeling really anxious and I'm feeling like somebody's following me, or maybe a bear is following me, right? How can I cope with this? Can I get my whistle out? Can I talk to myself and try and ground myself down a little bit? Can I pay attention to what's around me? Can I stop, take a look around, observe, and then proceed? And that is a strategy that is also used in DBT therapy called the stop technique. So you guys should really take a look at that, just as a side note. So, um, and then kind of identifying, again, who's your support system? Is it a trusted friend, a partner, a family member, a professional? And again, who can I ask for help? Maybe your support system are friends, but maybe you would rather talk to a parent for help. And what are professional resources? So, do you have to call, search and rescue if you're on the trail? Or do you have to call a professional on the trail because you're just really anxious and spiraling? Or do you have to call one of that person that you trust so much and ask for help? And how can you make your environment safe? Again, going back to coping, maybe you got to take out a whistle. Maybe you got to take out that, um, that cell phone, or those, tools or resources that you guys might carry, right? And I don't want to say what you guys carry, none of my business, but I'm sure you guys can have an idea. But again, what does your safety plan look like? And what does that look like on and off the trail? And when we use this feature in Avenza, it can remind us that, hey, yes, I can use this feature when I'm outside, but I can also use it on my day to day, or I can use it when I'm on the trail and I'm struggling, but I need to get out in nature and just feel a little bit better. So, just to give you guys brief overview of technology and mental health. So again, benefits and advancements. There's different websites, mobile apps, smartphones, and tablets. We can call, text, chat, our loved ones, or a support system, collecting and analyze information, paying attention as to what's going on and off the trail, and in the Avenza app, right? And having that accessibility to, for example, track our thoughts on the trail and track our thoughts off the trail. And, we want to make sure that we are able to have an enjoyable hike, but we also want to make sure we're able to enjoy how we're feeling on that hike and enjoying that moment and monitoring our progress, the trends and changes, just like we do with our own mental health. So, that's a quick overview, and I'm so happy to be able to speak to you guys about this. And again, feel free to reach out to me. And I want you guys next time when you go out on the trail to really take into consideration what features Avenza offers that you can equate to your own mental health. And again, thank you so much for having me speak to you guys today. I hope this makes you guys think a little bit next time you're out hiking.